everybody. I'm Colin Christianson here with Tenacious Ventures, and we're at the Northwest Event Show where we are interviewing some of the people on the floor, panelists, and some of the booths that we have on site. So with me here is Cindy Arasim, and she is going to talk to us about an initiative that she's working with called Beyond Plastics.
Yes.
And she was just telling me just before this about some incredible ways that there's some new recycling systems that are coming out. So why don't you give us a little bit of background on that?
Okay, so the background is that since the we're going to go way back, because since the 1950s, there has been a massive push to circulate single-use plastic in food and beverages. And as a matter of fact, 43% of all plastic is food and beverage, or actually it's used for packaging. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of overwhelming when you think about it because it's everywhere. And there's a lot of studies that are uncovering how damaging it's been to the ocean, to animals on the land, the breakdown. In fact, there's nowhere on the planet now that you can get away from plastic. It's got a very impactful bioaccumulation effect in our bodies, in the bodies of whales and animals in the ocean and all over. They're finding it in snowflakes, in plants, in the Mariana Trench, in the ocean. And when you get these, plastic breaks down over time. It never goes away. It's a forever material. There is a study that's being done in some of the Scandinavian countries.
My homeland.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
great. And I can't remember which country. It's either Norway or Sweden, but they're always doing cool sustainability stuff.
Yeah.
So it's called the PlastChem Project, and they're documenting all the toxins that are in plastic. Mm-hmm. They're at 16,000 different chemicals, and they're still documenting. And here in the United States, there's a gigantic loophole in food and beverage contact plastics that the FDA isn't checking these materials at all, and it's leaching into our food and into our drinks, et cetera. And in every point in the supply chain of plastic, from extraction to consumption to, throwing it away and breakdown and end of life, it's breaking down and it's impacting everything all along that supply chain in a very negative way. Mm-hmm. And little amounts make a giant difference in our bodies, in the bodies of animals. And so the initiative, the reason I'm involved in Beyond Plastics, and they're actually a nonprofit organization led by Judith Inc., who worked on the EPA for President Barack Obama when he was in office. So she started this nonprofit, and I am the Greater Seattle chapter lead. And so we do initiatives that they start to raise awareness on single-use plastic. Mm-hmm. So because I know so much, and there's a million other facts I could share, I'm really passionate about driving for awareness and circularity at events. And what I mean is, if I come to an event like this and I get a coffee cup, it's a lot of people carry around single-use disposable coffee cups.
Yeah.
And all of that piles up. And we never see it because a lot of our waste, sadly, is shipped overseas to countries that don't have the right infrastructure to break it down properly. Most of it gets burned. So they're all suffering from a lot of toxins that are airborne in the plastics. So now the goal is to try to drive for circularity in events and engage in reusables. So I actually partnered with Our Cup, and we had an event last fall at Microsoft Givetoberfest. I work in Xbox, and we had an event there where we used these reusables. And I think we saved something like 1,200, not just cups, but dishware, little sauce cups, pretzel boats, stuff like that. We had a 98% return rate. So only 2% of it was lost and disappeared. I'm sure some people took the stuff.
Yeah, I was wondering how much of a rate you would end up losing the cups over time, but that's actually not that bad of a...
It's a really good return rate. Yeah. And if you engage our cup as a company or any kind of organization, then you're always going to go for the maximum return rate. But the beauty of that is that yes, this is plastic, but this can be used 400 times. They clean it, they return it, and it's used by other venues. So that's thousands and thousands of cups that aren't ending up in the landfill. These are used a much longer time. It's very hygienic. It's and plus it also changes. It's like a paradigm shift for you and I. So like we were talking about right before this interview, we need to start thinking of our food and our beverages as things that we consume, but not the item that it comes in. All of those should be a circular vehicle to deliver those things to us.
Yeah, and I love the way you say that, the circular, because again, just saying, calling it sort of that, like instead of like imagining the plastic getting used in a recycle bin and then sent to place that it gets melted down, recycled, turned into something else, and then tried to be put back out, or it doesn't go through that cycle and goes, like you're saying, to the countries that just gets burned. The circular cycle makes so much more sense, right? That it's like you just cycle it within the geographic region it is to reuse the same object, and then it doesn't need to go through that process. There's not a bunch of labor that needs to go into the shipping and all that.
Yes.
It just gets returned and reused. Like
locally. You could do that locally.
Locally. So when you said that, I was like, it just was like, ding. That makes so much sense. Why aren't we doing more of that?
Yes, absolutely. And it's, you don't even have to, you could work with a company like Our Cup. There's another company called Bold that does some work here with the Key Arena, the Climate Pledge Arena. But you could start a lending library. Like at work, we have a lending library in our kitchenette. I just went to Goodwill. I bought some really funny mugs, and we've been using that since last July, which I hope everybody knows, Plastic Free July. Try to go plastic free in July. We started this lending library of mugs, and we have forks and spoons, and they're actually used a lot by people that are in my office. So it's just changing that paradigm and trying to carry things around with you more.
Yeah.
I have a little reusable spork that I carry with me everywhere that's made out of bamboo.
Yeah.
So over a period of 4 years of carrying that, I mean, imagine all the plastic spoons I've been able to avoid.
Yeah. I think that's a great one too, because I do a lot of mountaineering and climbing, and I mean,
oh yeah, you probably
that,
see it
you
everywhere.
Have to bring
yes,
you have to bring reusable stuff, because if you're going to climb to the top for your own survival needs, right?
Yeah.
You need to bring the minimum amount of stuff possible that will allow you to move around without having too much weight, but then give you everything you need. So it definitely creates this exercise of like, what is useful versus not useful? What is reusable versus not reusable?
Yeah.
And so it's definitely like to now even me thinking about like that in that environment versus like, yeah, why aren't we doing that even in our everyday interactions and where we go, where, you could do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of blows your mind. Like once you start thinking about it and you look, it's certainly easy to get overwhelmed about the amount of plastic around you. But when you think of what you can do personally, I mean, certainly it's important to get involved and let your legislators know, whatever state you're in, how important this issue is to you. Mm-hmm. But as a person in doing it for yourself, you're going to have what I like to call the personal ripple effect, a PRI effect of 10. Yeah. I think that if you start to do that, you're going to inspire at least 10 other people in your life to do the same, or at least to think about it. And on that note, later this month, Beyond Plastics is encouraging all the chapter leads like myself to show a movie called Blue Vinyl. So this movie won a lot of awards. I think it may be 9 or 10 years old, but it's a pretty great comedy documentary about a woman whose parents decide to put vinyl on their house. And the story is about how incredibly toxic polyvinyl chloride is and how no amount of it is a healthy amount. So this is PVC, and we're trying to pass legislation in the United States to list this as a toxic chemical or to stop using it in certain areas because it is highly toxic. So I'm trying to drive people to this movie. It's April 26th. I hope to partner with Our Cup. Maybe we'll show it at a SIF theater.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm aiming big, but I hope
you should. There is the SIF people here, so you should
Oh,
definitely
I gotta go talk to them.
definitely
Then. Are they here?
talk to them. Yeah,
Okay,
there's
I
several
need to.
SIF people here wandering
Cool.
around. There's even the Seattle Film Summit down on the lowest floor.
Yeah.
You can go talk to Ben Andrews there, and
Oh,
he can give you kind of an intro.
that's
actually,
cool.
to some of the people there at SIF. So
So that would be the right guy to talk to.
yeah, so he's involved with SIF, but he's
Okay.
a great contact to have there, and I can even connect you actually.
I would love that
Yeah.
because I want to drive people to the event because it's important to have awareness. And I volunteer. I'm not making any money.
Yeah.
In fact, I would rather buy or bring zero waste cookies, which I do have a great recipe, or make a zero waste cocktail to entice people to come
Uh-huh.
just so they can learn. And I do also have a very good recipe for a zero waste mocha.
Wow.
FYI.
Wow.
But it's driving that awareness. And, we as consumers, we need to know that there's bad stuff in our packaging and how much it impacts us. So yeah, I'm trying to get people to that event and
So how do
hopefully-
they know? How do they get there? Is there a place they can go? How do people connect with you?
Yes. They can email me at indiesay@hotmail.com. That's my name in Pig Latin. It's Indiesay spelled phonetically. Do you know Pig Latin?
Yeah, I do a little bit. I
Perfect.
mean, it's kind of, it's been a while since I thought.
First
I have
consonant,
it.
you take it off and you
Yeah.
add it. What's your name again? I forgot.
Colin.
You're all in K.
Yep.
See? So Indiesay, INDYSAY@hotmail.com. I'm also have a website called it's gratefulfortheride.org.
Mm-hmm.
It is just grateful for the ride, all one word, because I am grateful to be riding on this planet.
Yeah.
And we need to be mindful about what we purchase and what we throw away because it impacts everything and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to consider that.
Well, great. I want to see this continue forward. I want to see that process, the circular event recycling happening more often. Like, I love these concepts, and they literally
Me
just,
too.
once they're spoken, are just aha. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that it's like you just speak logic immediately like that when I
Thank
hear
you.
something like that. So thank you for coming out. Thanks for sharing your
Yes.
message. And I will connect you to Ben as well.
Thank you, All K.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's so good to meet you.
Yeah, you as well.
Thank you.
Yep.